Welcome to the Neurodivergent Selling podcast, where we explore the unique perspectives and experiences of neurodivergent individuals in sales. Our mission is to empower and celebrate neurodiversity in the workplace by showcasing the strengths and abilities of neurodivergent sales professionals. Each week, we'll hear from experts, thought leaders, and neurodivergent salespeople as they share their stories, strategies, and insights on how they've succeeded in sales despite the challenges they faced. From overcoming common misconceptions to finding the right workplace environment, we'll dive into the topic of neurodivergent selling in a way that's both informative and inspiring. So whether you're ND yourself, an ally, or just interested in learning more about diversity and inclusion in the workplace, tune in to the Neurodivergent Selling podcast and join the conversation. Welcome to the ND Selling podcast. This is Sandy Summer. And I want to welcome Avery Dwyer with us today. Thanks for joining us, Avery, and let's get right to it. Okay, this is a good personal question. What do people misunderstand about you the most?
Sometimes I'm not very out there, and I usually am like a lone wolf, and so I usually don't like doing group projects and stuff with work. Like sometimes I will, but that's not really how I build myself and learn. I like to just learn on my own. So sometimes people invite me, even in college, like to study groups. They're like, "Hey, like, do you want to like join?" And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm okay." Like I just focus way better because with my ADHD, if I join a group, I'm going to do everything else than what I'm supposed to do. So I think that's something I'm very introspective. Yeah, I internalize everything, and I just kind of want to do it on my own, and then get that out of the way, and then I'll socialize. Like I have to keep it separate.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I know that for me, I've been working remotely since 2005.
Nice.
And I love it because, and I was scared when I first had an opportunity to do it. I was like, man, I don't know if I have the self-discipline to do this. Well, what it turned out was that there were so many interruptions in the office that, I'm a social person. Like I definitely was fooling around, And so being in my own space and having the opportunity to talk to people, but with Zoom and whatnot, it works out well for me, but I'm able to stay a lot more focused. So that does make sense. What's the best compliment that you've ever gotten?
That I'm very detail oriented. I think that's something that I've had to work on for a really long time. So when that's recognized in my work, I really appreciate it. I struggled with organization, like I still do in many aspects of my life, but whenever someone's like, "Oh, this is really detail oriented, this is really neat, good job," I'm like, "Yes," like good for me.
So is that,
yourself?
do you overcompensate for that?
Yeah, I do feel the need to. I do work a lot, just because I have to take in mind that sometimes I get distracted. So I have to have really big focus groups or study groups for myself just to stay on top of everything. So
Right. Yeah. Because I know like I'm naturally late. So I've overcompensated and I'm always like a minute early now because if I'm not, like, who knows when I'll get there. Right. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's going to be hit or miss. So now, okay. So you just mentioned that you're a nomad. So if you could live anywhere in the world that you wanted to live, or I'm sorry, where would you live if you could live anywhere you wanted to?
For every day, I mean, if I also magically could speak Spanish fluently, I would love to live in Mexico City. It's a really cool artsy place. And they have the mountains. I lived there for a few months with my best friend. She was my foreign exchange student, and then she returned the favor, and I lived with her. I had a lot of fun there. And then speaking another language, I was so close to learning Spanish. Like I could understand what they were saying, and I was forming sentences, and then I left. So that's a big regret of mine, not pursuing a language so I could live there.
How long were you there?
I was there for 4 months, and what's funny is that it was right after Trump got elected, so people thought I was like fleeing the country, and they were like messaging me like, "Why are you going to Mexico?" They like all of a sudden, I was like, "Oh no, this is like the timing of the trip."
Well, it's so you were there long enough. How long were you there?
I was there for about 4 or 5 months.
Okay, so 4 or 5 months in an immersion situation, you almost mastered the language.
Yeah,
And
it was
another month, maybe?
Yeah, in about another month, I feel like if I stayed a little bit longer, I could have had that just getting used to speaking the language, because I can read, write, and I can understand it if someone says it to me, but then formulating the sentences and having it come out is way harder. So for me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I like speaking, reading was always easier for me because speaking was just at a different pace. Like
Hmm.
reading, you can control the pace, and you can't when you're listening to somebody. And that was always the challenge for me. But I've always thought language was very interesting. Like there's I love linguistics. I live in New
Hmm.
Orleans, where there's not about nine recognized dialects within the city. There's three main ones and then offshoots of those. And the the New Orleans accent, the classic New Orleans accent, there's a comedian named uh, something Patton. He's from here. I can't remember his first name, but he was on like a late night show recently, and he said they were talking to him about what they thought was a New York accent, which is the Cajun accent. He's like, oh no, no. He's like, the New Orleans accent sounds like a Brooklyn firefighter on Valium. So, which is it's just slow, but it's they're also they speculate that the reason that the dialect here, one of the dialects, is a lot like Northeast, is that there's a lot of Italians, a lot of Germans, a lot of Irish that settled New Orleans, and like Staten Island is the closest thing to New Orleans accent, apparently, according to like linguists. So, which is
That's
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah. All righty. So let's talk about what you do at Orem a little bit. How did you get into your role there, and were you doing SDR work before that, or was this your first rodeo?
This was my first time going into tech. This is my first tech role, sales role. I actually studied integrative physiology at CU Boulder, and I was planning on pursuing nursing or some role in medicine. And I basically, the pandemic happened, and I had to work. I basically, all those college kids were just forced into working. And so I was like, okay, let me find a job. I went to B2C sales for medical aesthetic sales. That's something I was interested in. And then I stumbled into tech. I went on Bets Recruiting, and I looked at all the tech companies, and forums about efficiency. And that's something I love. And it's really easy to talk to people about it. It's helped me so much develop into like an incredible SDR, because I hit 107% quota this for Q4, which I was really excited about. And I don't think I ever imagined myself in a role like that.
Why?
Um,
Just
because I'm not very, I think since I didn't know what sales was, it's often stereotyped as competitive and having a ton of drive. And I'm not a very competitive person. I kind of just do things for myself, and I like to do things for other people. And that's kind of how I view it. So I think that's why I never envisioned myself in a sales role, but I do enjoy the healthy competition. I do enjoy achieving, bringing in talking great prospects and getting some things going here.
well, you mentioned that you're not all that competitive, and I think that sometimes in sales, you've got this boiler room mentality that is a little bit too much for me, actually. But you said that you like to help people, and when you're really doing sales professionally and doing it well, that's what you're doing more than
Mhm.
anything else. So that makes sense. And it's also, with Orum's platform, it is about efficiency. It's about being able to get more out of your day than you can get in other ways, and that's a compelling pain to solve right now, especially. A lot of companies are having to do more with less, and or more with what they've got, whatever it might be. No, it's going to help organizations reach outside of their comfort level and past the status quo that they have now. Um, what your day to day at Orem? How does your day to day? How's it impacted by ADHD, and how what are your workarounds, your hacks? Like how do you manage yourself? Because I'm guessing that you're pretty self directed. I mean, I know you have a great management team there, but they're there to assist you. They're not there to tell you what to do, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think I I've had to structure my life. What I went back to, the mentality that I went back to was being in college, and I used to wake up really early. I'm always been a morning early bird. That's what they say. I've always been an early bird. So I wake up really early in the morning to kind of get ahead. I like to do all my busy work then. And then I'll jump into team meetings. I'll do my call blitz, but I do all of the important like prospecting emails set up in the morning. So then I can have success throughout the day. I used to just wake up and then, have breakfast, jump into the morning meetings without prepping, and I felt a little bit lost. So I just took the responsibility of saying, okay, I want everything set up before I talk to anybody or I'm thrown into a meeting. So get everything set up, and then I have a successful day.
Pomodoro technique.
Yeah, I used it in college. I forget the timings. I should probably pick it back up again.
25 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 25 minutes hard work. Then you reward yourself with a break. Yeah, that's a really great technique because I like looking at the timer because my brain will say, okay, I need to get a snack. And then I get totally thrown off and I'm like doing something in the kitchen, like cleaning it now. And so I like to have the timer there. So it's like work and then you can go do something else.
Yeah, it's worked. I don't remember how. I mean, that's an Italian word for tomato, I guess. I don't know how that was tagged onto it. I used to know it actually, but it serves me well. The way I use it is I do 25, then 5 off, 25, 5 off, then 25, and then a half hour off is what I do. But the technique I think can be, you can modify it. For somebody that's got more ability to focus, maybe they can do it for 45 minutes. For somebody like I'll do it for 15 minutes sometimes. If I can't do it longer, it's still better than zero, Now, so what do you think the most important thing that you've learned at Orum that applies not just, I guess think of something that you learned professionally, but then you were able to take it into your personal life and see a change or an improvement or something like that?
That's a really good question. I would say just from all of the coaching that we get here with our calls, and we do role plays to kind of practice conversations. I think it's kind of change the way that I have conversations, which is great because you get to connect with people more, and making it about other people. So I guess like just learning how to connect with people because I'm calling people every day and then I get coaching on, okay, well, this person is different. So maybe we should try approaching them this way. And then, okay, and applying that in my day-to-day life too.
Well, I think that the other thing I'm hearing is that is a growth mindset. When you're coachable and you almost hunger for that you grow as a human as well as a professional, because if you're not growing, you're dying as far as I'm concerned. I mean, and it's amazing to me how many people have no interest in getting any feedback. I think it tends to be that they're overconfident in perhaps ways they ought not to be. Sometimes it's I also think, did you play sports at all growing up?
I was mostly into music. I played the violin, guitar, and piano, and then I did cheerleading. So I got into sports later.
Because the reason I ask is that if you play sports, it's pretty hard to survive without being able to be coached. And I think that I think there's a fair number of athletes that end up in sales because of that. Also, you do, depending on what your sales cycle is and what your metrics are, you get feedback every day, and that's something that if you're playing something, you're going to get feedback every day. Same with music. I mean, my son plays 5 instruments. He's from New Orleans. So, but it's crazy to me, like that, he plays 5 instruments. Like there's other kids that play more than that here, but that's a lot. That's a lot. You said 3 or 4.
I did theater, so I used to sing, and I first played the violin. Yeah, I honestly like never liked performing. I liked singing, but I never liked being in front of people. But then I played the piano and then picked up guitar. So I've lost that, unfortunately. So I strongly encourage your son to keep with it, because I definitely regret it giving
Well,
it
he
up.
plays drums, bass, he plays bass, regular guitar, trombone, and oh, no, hold on. Maybe it's only four, but in any event, but his best thing is bass, and he's a good guitar player too. But he goes to film school in Baltimore. So um, now let's see here. Um, I like how this is going so far, though. It's a good
Awesome.
conversation. So um, what's let me see. Okay, so if you had to give advice to somebody like you that was their first real professional job, um, and it's probably a little bit intimidating, um, what would you tell someone who was in your shoes, and was considering getting into this profession, and there was fear?
Yeah, absolutely. I was also scared. I struggle still to this day with imposter syndrome. When I first joined, I heard words I never heard before. They're like, "Oh, they're going to drive the ROI and blah, blah." And I'm like, I don't know what that means. I was like, what are all these letters for? So I struggled with imposter syndrome a lot, and just feeling like I don't know if I belong here. I've never done this before. But honestly, you just need to give yourself a shot, and you're capable of just trying it to see if it fits for you. If it doesn't, then it's fine. You can move on, find something you're passionate about. But I ended up finding that the lifestyle that I implemented, being efficient, like just being fully about that, and then working for Orum and using their product, just completely, changed that for me.
Well, I think I was watching Instagram commercial last night, and it was a guy that was he advises people on how to use video, right, in sales. And he said something that was very funny, I thought. He was talking about a lot of people that start with video, then they're scared to begin with. Then they don't get any results right away, so they stop it because they're thinking that it's because they stink, And I mean, I'm terrible on video. I'm getting better because I keep doing it, right? But he said that he thinks that imposter syndrome is not a thing. That it's just because somebody put those two words together, because it wasn't a thing until recently, right? And that how many people have been affected by those two words being put together, that if they had never been put together, wouldn't have that thought even cross their brain. It's interesting that he said that, and that you just said that. So what I know that Orum has a very I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. They have a very their framework for their interviewing process is pretty interesting. I think it's I think more it's probably a tougher interview than almost anywhere that I've heard of. I think, is that correct? As you know it?
We had
Yeah. What was the process? Because I feel like I've heard about it, and I saw it and I was like, oh, I would never apply for a job there.
I don't know. I don't know if I would put this in here, but I don't think for me it was more of a people first approach, and
Okay.
which I thought was very different from all the other interviews I was doing. They were asking me to do more technical stuff, and I was feeling a bit. I didn't know what I was doing, but with this, it was a people first interaction. So they hired based off of your personality, really, and what you can bring. If you're, someone who's willing to do the work rather than having like unhealthy competition, like that's kind of what they were recognizing.
Well, that's good, because I think there's there's a few companies that I'm aware of that they hire off personality and whether you're nice, because nothing else matters. Like I told my son growing up, look, I don't care about any of this other stuff. If you're not nice, it doesn't matter. And you can't teach people that. They've got to have it natively. And so, like for example, Chick-fil-A, they don't hire people unless they're nice. It's just you're not a candidate, right? And I think if every company started off with that first filter, um, we'd all be better off, because you don't have to teach customer service when that's the
Mm-hmm.
case. Like it's just, there's these things that when somebody is nice, everything else can fall. You can teach everything else, some people just are miserable, but if your focus is on, like you said, the human element, and I mean, that's one of the reasons why I like Rightbound so much, because we've got, a solid group of people that I would be friends with out of the office. Well, we're not in the office, but you know what I mean? Like some places, like I've just, you're like, oh, I can't wait to get out of the office today because these people are driving me nuts, so it's nice to not have that.
Yeah, it's definitely really nice because when I first joined, my whole team, they were super open. They're like, yeah, let's do call coaching. Let's do practice call scripts, emails. They were ready to jump on and teach me. So I'm super thankful that we have a team that's very collaborative and willing to help out. And I always make sure to return the same favor to my teammates.
Right. Well, you got a superstar in your office who's, got such a presence on LinkedIn and is obviously generous with his with the information and his knowledge. But talk about him for a second and tell me like, is it really is what it seems like? He seems like obviously just helping everybody, and I think if you come from contribution, everything else falls into place. Again, it goes back to the nice thing. He doesn't have to do that, but if it's if it correlates with the person that he is, then he does have to do it.
Yeah, he's super. Obviously, Mash is a really passionate AE we have here. I'm so shocked because he always like posts like PowerPoints and like very detailed call scripts to help people. And on LinkedIn, you may see it every day, like he posts. But behind the scenes, he's also doing coaching with everybody. We have AE SDR pod alignments where we have call blitz, and he'll listen to my calls. He'll give me feedback and say, "Did you do this research?" So he's so about coaching and really getting people to like hit the phones and just getting really passionate about it. So I really appreciate that from him.
Well, one of the reasons I think that people have call reluctance is, there's two reasons. One of them I don't think people discuss, and that is boredom. Like with your solution, you can't get bored. When you're on just a regular dialer, it's easy to get bored, and especially if you've got ADHD. Like the last thing I want to be doing is sitting around waiting for calls. Like it's just not. I can't do that, right? So it's when you have someone who's willing to do that and help. The other reason that people have cold calling reluctance, I think, is they feel like they don't know enough. And at some point, like you're never going to know everything, right? So you just have, it's like why we procrastinate. I procrastinate as an ADHD person because sometimes we're looking for perfection instead of progress, and it's got to be the other way around, And if I think whenever we would have to do research, like that's an easy way to act like you're not reluctant to make phone calls, but you just slow the pace down, right? And so yeah, that's, and I don't know if you guys excuse me, do you ever has anyone ever said that you are aware of that it's not just about reluctance, it's about getting bored and being able to stay engaged. Do you guys talk about that at all?
Yeah, so that's actually why they recently implemented the live sales floor. So basically, you kind of felt alone, especially working remotely with calling. You're just sitting in your room or your office at home calling. You're not really engaging with people. So basically, we have the live sales floor where we could listen to everybody's calls, feel engaged. We can coach people. So there's a lot of coaching going on. And that's something that I utilize to make myself a better sales rep. I had the live sales floor on and I would have it on auto listen. So I'm doing research and then I'm listening to people's calls and learning every moment.
Nice. Yeah. That's now, so how many how many SDRs are in Orum?
I think we have 15 SDRs.
And where are you as far as seniority is concerned at this point?
I'm the most senior, so I'll be here. I think this is 10 months in, and and I'm also like a team lead, like a pod lead. So I've been here for quite some time, learning the process. So
yeah, I'm the most senior at Rightbound also. I think we started around the same time because I started April 25th.
That was the same day I started. I think it was April 28th, maybe, but it was like end of same week.
Yep. Yeah, because I started my first dials were on Thursday, and I got my first meeting on either Thursday or Friday. But
Oh my
yeah,
gosh. I
it's
definitely had cold call reluctancy, even though our platform is about calling. Like I still was, since I had never done it before, I was still scared to get on the phones. And my coach would be like, just do it. Like that's the best way to get better. You can't just
yeah,
like, you
it's
just
the
have
only
to do
way.
it.
Yeah. But again, a tool like Orum allows the ramp up time to be really tightened because the thing's just going to dial. Like
Mhm.
if the phone's waiting on you to dial it, you know, and you're brand new, it is tough. Like in fact,
Mhm.
what I found is that if before they had all the technology they have now, if you hesitated at all in the beginning, you were never going to make it because you'd get bound up and it just wouldn't happen. So the people that I saw succeed were always people that just said, you know what, I'm just going to get on the phone. And
Mhm.
yeah, there's going to be some um, there's going to be some calls where people realize that you're brand new. I mean, it's just going to happen. And
Yep.
sometimes that person will be nice to you, and then other times they'll be brutal to you. They're not going to be ambiguous at all. It's going to be one or the other. And it's funny. Yesterday, I had more people hang up on me yesterday at the beginning of my calls, like than I've had like since the whole time I've been here. I don't know what was going on. It was weird, but I was like, wait, you just another hang up, and my opener is just hey, this is Sandy Summer, and nobody likes getting a cold call on Thursday afternoons or Friday mornings or whenever it is, and I don't really like making them either. So if you can give me 30 seconds, that's all, 30 seconds, um, you'll be able to tell if it's relevant or not, and if it's not, you can hang up on me. And I mean, I was getting hung up way before that. So,
You're like, I didn't even give you permission to hang up on me yet. Wait, hold on a
I know.
second.
I mean, but it was just so funny because I was laughing about it. If I had been a new person, it probably would have made me quit. I don't know. So it's
Yeah,
fun.
that's something that was encouraging about Orem is that since we're getting into more live conversations every day, when you have a bad call, if you have a bad conversation, you just keep going because there are going to be more out there. And maybe you have just connect with the sales leader or you book a meeting. It just keeps you motivated. Like, okay, that one was bad. I'm getting over it because I'm going to have maybe three
Well, yeah,
more
because
today.
the way that Orem works is you got there's going to be a a lot more conversations than most people are going to have. So it also I don't know if you've paid attention to Josh Braun at all, but one of the things he talks about is don't be too concerned about what the outcome is. Remove yourself from that. And it's like, yeah, I think he talks about like Department of Motor Vehicles voice, like just something you don't care, right? And people can sniff out um, if somebody is if they sound desperate. Um, if you're like, look, I don't even know if what we do can help you, but it might, and that may be worth, or it might not be, but I don't think I'm crazy to think that 10 minutes of your time won't be well invested because you'll either learn what your competition is going to do or you're going to utilize it yourself. And so that's I like cold calling. I mean, I've done this and I've done AE stuff. I like this better. I'm not sure why. Um, but
I really like documentaries and I just often watch a lot of documentaries. So I think something that'd be interesting to relate to this podcast is Love on the Spectrum. That's a great show on Netflix that it shows how people connect, like who have special needs. So like you'll find people on all odds of the spectrum there. But I think that's a really good show just to relate
what's
it
it
back
called? I'm
here.
sorry, what's it called again?
Love on the Spectrum. It's
Oh,
really
okay.
cute
Oh,
because,
cool, cool.
but it's a dating show for people who have special needs and they like just connect really well and practice their social skills. So that's one that I love. A book. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear. Am I allowed to swear here?
Yeah.
Okay, because there's a book called Unfuck Your Brain. I'm reading that right now. And I really enjoy it because it goes into psychology and physiology of your brain and how you react to emotions and or why your emotions run high and it kind of balances you out. That's a really good book that I recommend.
So is it for a neurodivergent audience or does it just sound like it is?
No, it absolutely is. I
Mhm.
think it's really interesting. In the first chapter, they talk about the brain with the amygdala, the part of the brain, it's fight or flight. So if you experience something, ADHD is a cluster of symptoms. So you can experience depression, anxiety, anger, because you're not able to complete tasks and you can take it out on yourself. So I thought it was really interesting because in the first chapter, she talks about how, this is why you're reacting that way, because this part of your brain is saying, we got to get out of here. I'm freaking out. And if you understand it, then you can confront it.
Yeah, I got to get that book because there's
I
certain
forget the
things.
author, the name, but it wouldn't be hard to find a book that
No, I
says
think
stuff
that's
on
yeah.
it.
So yeah, because I don't like to go shopping. Like I like to go grocery shopping. Amazon, if it weren't for Amazon, I wouldn't spend any money because I don't
Amazon's
want
so
to go in the
great.
store. I just if like for some reason it'll just ignite anxiety. I don't know something must have happened to me at some point in the store or something because it freaks me out. I don't like going to stores. Um, Generally, now there's some exceptions, but I don't like when people ask me, do you need any help? No, I don't need any help. But there's Sephora. Do you know what Sephora does?
Oh, of course I do. Yeah, they have my
The black
wallet.
and the black and white.
Yeah.
I mean, what a brilliant idea that costs them no money. I
Yep.
mean, eh, explain that because not everybody may know about what we're talking about.
Sephora is a makeup store. They do carry high end makeup as well, but that's their primary focus. So they sell a little bit more expensive makeup. One thing that is genius is I'll go in there and I just want one thing. I like wearing makeup. I want one thing. And then I get to the register and they have boxes of little things like little lipsticks, little face washes, just to go things. And they're selling them for like $15 a piece. And I'm like, ooh, this is a cute little thing. It's just little though. So it's not going to cost that much. And then I go to the register and I picked up like $60 worth of little miniatures that I have to put away.
Well, don't they have a white basket and a black basket that for shopping?
Oh, yeah, I think they have like it's a code. If you don't want to talk, then they'll leave you alone. But if you need
Yep.
help, then it'll signal them
Yes,
down.
you're supposed to
Um,
pick up a basket that gives your intentions of your, and so they won't like if you, I don't know which one is which, but if let's say the white one is don't bother me, so you experience the store the way you want to, and if you don't know what you want and you want some help, then you do the other one, and it's when I heard about that, I was like, man, whoever figured that out, it's one of the simplest things I've ever heard of, but it's brilliant,
yeah, I had to stop limit myself from using baskets. I can only pick with my hands because if I have a basket, I'm going to load it up with all the stuff that I don't need. So I
That
limit
makes
to
sense.
what I can carry in my hands. And sometimes I'm very shocked with how much I can carry. I've learned to adjust the dexterity of my fingers to fit more stuff. So
It's like you're an octopus then.
yeah, I know. I think that's what happened. Like I can like hold like 8 things in a hand, and I'm like, oh, there's no point of doing this. Should have just gotten a basket. Didn't help.
Well, that's funny. It reminds me of a story that some friends of my dad, he was friends with these two identical twins growing up, and they were like 6'5", 280. These guys were huge, right?
Oh my
And
gosh.
their father one time said to him, "Boys, this business about drinking all you can carry has got to stop." Because they could carry like
Gosh.
cases of beer. So um, now, all right. So where can if anybody wants to reach out to you, if they want to learn more about Orum, if they want to learn more about you without being creepy, how do they do that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You can just message me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on there, even though I don't post. I like to respond to comments and
Right.
messages. So if you want to email me at Avery, Avery at Orum.com. I'll also check out emails too.
Cool. That's it for this week's episode of the Neurodivergent Selling Podcast. We hope you found this conversation as enlightening and inspiring as we did. Remember, neurodiversity is a strength, not a weakness, and we're here to showcase the amazing contributions of neurodivergent individuals in the sales industry. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share it with your network and leave us a review on your favorite platform. If you have any questions or comments, or if there's a topic you'd like us to explore in a future episode, just reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for tuning in and joining us on this journey of neurodivergent selling. Until next time, keep embracing diversity and empowering neurodivergent sales professionals.